Good morning and welcome, friends. It's Kevin Esty from Stamping Just for Fun. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located on the east coast of Canada in Nova Scotia. And today is the Gentleman Crafters Design Team blog hop post for February of 2021. And I've been having a great deal of fun with some of the products from Celebration, which is going on right now. And I've been holding off presenting this because I wanted to find the perfect project that everybody could do very easily and quickly with the Darling Donkeys stamp set. They are so stinking cute. I just love these guys. They are fabulous. And this is a free item if you do a $60 order in Canada. I think it's $50 in the United States. For my friends in Australia, you'll have to consult with your local demos there. I don't know the price right off the top of my head there, but it's a free item you can get just by ordering some regular product from the catalog right now until the end of February. And they're just fabulous. I love little animals, and these guys are just too darn cute. So I wish they had to put some sentiments that were a little more tongue in cheek in the kit, but of course, can't do that. So we can make our own. So we're doing some kick-arse cards today because I thought that would just be a play on words that's fun. I'm also going to bring in some of this beautiful Oh So Ombre paper. The minute I saw this in the little Celebration catalog, I was just like, oh my god, I hope they carry this over. I hope it goes into the regular catalog. There are 4 colors in this paper. You get Rococo Rose. I have to consult the back of the package so I get the right one. I want to say it's Rich Razzleberry, but it's not. It's Blackberry Bliss, Granny Apple Green, and Bermuda Bay. And you get 2 different patterns. So there's this, we won't really call it polka dot, but it's kind of like a random circle pattern, and you get that in all 4 colors. And then there's the ombre pattern, which it's a gradation of color from almost white to whatever the darkest color is, and that comes in the 4 colors as well. The minute I saw the green and the blue, I said, oh my word, you've got grass and sky. This would be so easy to create scene cards with. So that's exactly what I've done. So I'm using 2 of the free products. This is also a free product. 48 sheets of it come in the package, which is lots and lots and lots. And that also is for a $60 order from regular supply. So I'm going to keep a couple pieces of that out. I'm going to bring in a white. Now, I'm not calling it Whisper White. I'm not calling it Basic White because I don't know what you might have. We're going out of our Whisper White paper product and we're moving into just a Basic White, which is almost the same identical thing. They do have just a slightly different hue or brightness of the white color. So you'd have to hold them up next to each other to see. Otherwise, you wouldn't know the difference. But a white, thick card base, and it's for North America, 11 inches wide by 4¼ inches tall, scored in the middle at the 5½. Whatever your card size is, this is the long landscape version that we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to have a wide card, and I have already gone and stamped out and cut a bunch of donkeys just using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and I've done those on some thick white as well, and I've cut those out, fussy cut those, and I have those ready to color. And I'm gonna need an embossing folder, and in the Christmas holiday catalog, there was a set of 2 embossing folders that came with the wrapped in texture, or the set that had the little coffee cup holders in it. And one had dots, and the other one was this kind of a cross hatch pattern. I'm not sure if I can get this in the best light to see. Anyway, it makes perfect grass. So we're going to use this. You don't have to have this. This card can go together relatively quickly with just a white card base, the paper, and some critters of some sort. Donkeys, if you've got the pigs from the pig stamp set, use the pigs. If you've got something else, that works great. We're going to do a little bit of cutting. So I bring in my trimmer, and I'm going to cut this into 3 equal pieces, this blue layer, 2-inch strips, and I'm going to do it so that the ombre goes from the top to the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to cut a 2-inch strip and a 2-inch strip, and then I'm going to decide which one I want on my card, because you're going to get different ombres out of this. It's either going to be really dark to semi-dark, you're going to have one in the middle that's going to go halfway, or you're going to have one that's going to go to the really, really white. So you're going to have 3 different possible combinations of sky here. And I think I like the one that is a little darker, but because I've already done one with that, I'm going to use the one that goes to the white, so on the bottom edge of the ombre. So that's 2 inches, was 6 inches. I'm going to cut it down now to 5 3/16. Now this is an odd thing to do, but that's because we're going to be overlapping the edge of the 2 strips of paper by a little bit, just so that we don't see an edge, and because of that I want an extra 1/16 of an inch of dimension. Okay, now my green, same sort of thing. I can have grass going up to white sky, I can have really, really dark grass, I can have grass in the middle, but this one's a little bit different. This one has to be, oh no, this is also a 2-inch strip, sorry. I was going to say it was different. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to cut it off 2 inches, and I'm going to cut another one off at 2 inches, and then I'm going to decide which grass I want. And I think I want the one out of the middle. Not the one that's really, really super light, and not the one that's really, really super dark. Okay, and the same thing. 5 3/16. So 5 1/8 plus 1 more 16th, halfway between the 8th and, where are we there? 5, halfway between the 8th, just before the quarter. Does that make sense? 16ths are the smallest marks on the measurement, so 3 of those smallest ones. Okay, so now I have grass and I have sky, and I have my card. So the last step is we're going to add some embossing. You don't have to do this, like I say, you can do this without the embossing, but I'm going to emboss it with this folder, and it is going to add this grassy texture to it that is just gorgeous. Okay. I need my base 1 and 2. This is a thin little embossing folder, so I need the extra shim of plate number 2. And then I'm going to use my number 4 on top. Pull that through. Wait till you see what we get. It's going to all curl up on me just because there's a lot of texture here. But look at this. It looks like grass. Okay. Done with this. So now let's do some assembly. We've got our card base. Varnish that with my bone folder. And then I'm going to grab my sticky stuff here, and I'm going to start with my sky at the top. And yes, I'm still using snail. I've only got about 20 of them to finish using up. And I'm going to put the dark at the top. And what I'm going to do is, it's just a hair more, it's a 1/16 of an inch more than the 1/8 inch that we're used to having for a mat on the front of the card. So it's just a slightly larger amount of space. around the border. Okay, but if you line it up so that it looks equal on those three sides, you'll be all set. Okay, then I'm going to add my green grass layer. I'm actually, yeah, I'm going to go all the way across with this one. Put lots of adhesive on this one because it keeps wanting to curl up on me. It's a very, very heavy texture for a little piece of paper. I want it to stay stuck good. Let's put lots of. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. And this is actually going to overlap my blue. So I want to make sure I line up on the edge of my blue. But it's going to overlap the blue piece by ever so tiniest, the little bit. 1/16, an eighth of an inch, maybe just a tiny little bit more. Okay, there we go. Look at that. An instant scene of a grassy field and a blue sky. You can see how this is going to come together here now. I'm just going to set that up to the side. I'm going to give you a peek of the two that I made earlier with this technique. Aren't they fun? Just great. Put clouds and birds in the sky. I'm going to show you how to do that here in a second. And the donkeys are just so great. And any sentiment goes with these really, really well. Okay. Let's color some donkeys. I'm going to bring in some blends. And these are the colors that I'm using. I am using, because I like my donkeys gray, but you can do brown donkeys. You can do donkeys in whatever color you like. So I have my, these are all light blends, by the way. Gray granite and smoky slate. If you have the pair of gray granite, dark and light, that's fine. If you have the pair of smoky slate, that's fine. I have all light blends. The more you color with them, the darker they go. So I opted to get all the light ones to start with and fill in dark ones if I can't get the dark color I like out of just coloring more with them. So I'm using those two to give me a little bit of color gradation. Some petal pink for in his ears. Bronze for the hoofs. And I have to decide whether I'm going to use the donkey with the rose. No, I think I did. I think I'm going to use the other two donkeys on this card, not all three of them. So we'll leave donkey with the rose out. So I'm not going to need the red and the green, but if you were coloring the donkey with the rose, I used old olive and cherry cobbler, but you can use any green, any red that you have. And I always start with the darker of the two colors, and I have to consult my chart. It is the smoky slate that is the darker. And all I'm going to do is highlight just an area here where there's a line on his butt that's supposed to be a shadow, his tail, and just the edge of his belly down here underneath, because those would be natural areas that would be in a little bit of shadow and a little bit darker. And then I'm going to do his hair, and it's so fine, I'm just barely touching with the tip of my brush, and his muzzle. He's such a fun donkey. Okay, I'll do this one the same thing. He's got this little spot in his butt down here that's kind of in shadow, and then maybe a little along his bottom leg down here, this leg. Then his tail, and his rockin' hairdo up here, and his muzzle. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to switch to my light gray, or in this case it's my gray granite. And I'm going to do the tops of his ears. And his head. And as I come down around the area where I've used the other color, I am just going to color a little bit over that with some swirls, same down here on his bottom. And the alcohol will cause the colors to blend or bleed together. And it just gives a little bit of color gradation. Do that on his leg here too. And as it dries, you'll see it will. Doesn't look pretty when it's wet, but when it starts to dry, all of a sudden you end up with the blending. And you can always come back and do more. If you don't get what you're looking for the first time, then you come back and add a little. You can't take away, but you can always add. Okay. Same thing here as I come around his butt. Just going to add lots of color to it to pull the other gray shadowing out. There we go. Down his leg. His other leg is kind of hidden in behind here. There. Now, some petal pink in the ears. Like that. Like that. And a little bit of bronze. See how quickly these come together? They're not complicated. I think the most complicated part of this whole thing was fussy cutting out the donkeys. I can't lie though, I didn't fussy cut them. I let my machine fussy cut them. One of the greatest tools and machines I have in my workshop now is a scan and cut machine, and I love it. I just stamp all over the sheet of paper, stick it in the machine, it scans them, finds them, and cuts them all out for me, because I could never cut that clean with a pair of scissors. Okay, so now we need to add a little bit of background to our sky, and so I'm going to bring in another stamp set here. This is one that is in the annual catalog called Mountain Air, and it's scene building for trees and mountains. It's one of these stamp sets that you can flip them over and stamp with the back sides of them too, to give you color fills. But there's a beautiful cloud and some little birds in this set, and the clouds are just the right sort of size and dimension, the right scale for this, and so are the birds. So I'm going to pull out the clouds. I'm going to grab a couple of blocks here. I want a little tiny one for my birds. I want this one for my clouds. And I'm going to pull in Whisper White Pigment ink. Now this is something you may have in your stash of stuff, and you may never actually pull it out and use it for anything, but this is a really good example of where it's great to use. When you order this, the pad comes completely empty, and they send you the bottle of ink, and it's just like glue. You have to warm it up in your hands and squeeze it out to get it in the ink pad, and you have to mush it around. It's quite pasty. I'm going to stamp myself a couple of clouds here, but it really does a nice job of clouds on a paper. Okay, and they're going to lighten and they're going to disappear as they dry. You have to wash these off in the sink is the best way to clean them afterwards. If you rub them on your chamois, you're going to have white ink all over everywhere. So I will take that to the sink and wash it after. This ink takes a long time to dry because it's pigment ink and it's not water-based. It sits on the surface of the paper for a long time. I stamped this one with a lot more ink than I did this one, and this one somewhere in between, just because I wanted some gradation to make the clouds look like they were a little further away, maybe not as bright in the sky. You can also, if you want to speed the process up a little bit, just dab with a tissue just to take some of the wetness off, and that will, so that you don't end up with the ink on your fingers and getting it all over everywhere. Okay, last step is to add some birds to the sky, and because this is Bermuda Bay and I don't want like really stark black birds in the sky, I'm going to use my Bermuda Bay ink. And I'm just going to put some birds here, and maybe some, we'll do 2 sets of birds up there, and another one over here. There we go, birds in the sky, done. So simple. Now, I just have to put some dimensionals on the back of my donkeys and stick them up on the card. And I'm using the small dimensionals because there's lots of small little spaces on the donkeys here that you need to squeeze them into. And here's my little box. I cut a little strip off the side of my dimensionals, just a tiny narrow little piece, and I'm going to use that on his legs because I don't want his legs to sag. So just, it's barely an 1/8 of an inch wide. Okay, squeeze this in his ear. I can see that. Nope, good. Just make sure you can't see it from the front. And then we can do the same with this guy's tail. Put a little piece of this behind the end of his tail. All right. Now I just have to decide how I want to do them. I'm going to do it like this. And you can see I used different sentiments here. I used Bravo from the new Punch Party host set from Celebration. It's got a variety of different sentiments with it, and this matches the heart punches, the postage stamp punch, and the double oval punch. So you have both of the oval shapes, and a number of these fit inside of the ovals, and I thought Bravo was kind of cool, so I did that in Coastal Cabana on some, I believe it was mint macaron. I didn't want white, I wanted something a little green. This one, Wildly Grateful, came from, I'm not sure which one that came from, but a nice set of sentiments in that stamp set. I think it was Lovely You. Yeah, Lovely You. Lots of different ones in it, and because they've got a curly cursive font in them, you can fussy cut around them to make it nice. I think I'm just going to do these two like this, and I'm going to do the sentiment on the inside of the card. So I'm just going to center them there like that. They're just kicking up, having fun out in the sunshine. So I figured out, doing the math in my head last night, that if you get 3 strips, 2-inch strips out of each piece of paper, and there are 8 of the blue and 8 of the green, out of your pack of paper you can create 24 blue-green sort of scene cards with sky and grass, and use any of the animal stamp sets, or could be birds, could be anything. I think it's great that that they create this sort of like I say, a little vignette scene out in the sunshine. You could even put a sun up in the corner if you wanted to. So there we are. That's my simple card for today. I thought those were so fun. Love the darling donkeys. You can add other elements like grass or flowers or whatever you like to them. I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, this is the Gentleman Crafter's February Design Inspiration Hop, so be sure, if you're on my website at StampingJustForFun.CA and you're in this blog post, scroll down to the bottom. You're going to see the other 7 links for the other 7 projects the guys are presenting this month. Please do visit them all. Make sure you leave comments for anybody that you can comment for. If you're over on my YouTube channel looking at this video, be sure to go through to my website and get the links to the hop from there. Okay, thanks everybody for joining me, and we will see you next month.